I can't wait. I don't know a ton. Well, like I looked up like the basic. People are ready. I looked up the basic details of it.
Oh, the Tupac?
But good old Tupac. You gotta scoot over though a little. There we go. So we'll give just a few minutes for people to show up. Can you guys hear us okay? Should be able to. We got a good battery. Set my alarm for this. Uncle Phil was asking for feedback, and I was telling him that everybody was losing their minds because they were so excited for this. So, Tupac episode. So while everybody gets on, you rewatched the last episode, or the first episode.
Yep.
What did you think?
Hi, Bree. Hi, baby.
Hey, Bree.
It was pretty good.
You liked it?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it flowed well. We got out of the lane a couple times, but
well, yeah, we're gonna do this time too. Yeah, it's almost like we've had multiple conversations before. Look at Uncle Phil. You're their uncle now. Just so you know, I call you the detective, or detective uncle.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think pretty much everybody's gonna call you Uncle Phil. Flows really well.
Yep.
Alrighty, so this episode we're talking about the murder of Tupac Shakur.
Shakur.
Is it Tupac Shakur?
Tupac Shakur. Yeah. Yeah, you gotta get that right.
Get it right, people. And so you were going to. So first, explain what your involvement with the shooting was, because you weren't the lead.
No. There was so much publicity, and it was such a dynamic crime scene that the lead detectives needed help interviewing people and following up on different leads because everything was going on so crazy. So Mike Franks and Brent Becker were the lead detectives on it, and Jimmy and I just kind of helped them out wherever they needed help. We did go to the autopsy, so we got some gruesome and explicit information on the autopsy. But
awesome.
Yeah, the murder itself, we just kind of helped. I mean, you guys probably remember it was September 7th, Saturday, when they got into town back in 1996, and they were here for a Mike Tyson fight. He was fighting Bruce Seldon, I think, and it was a really short fight.
Just a little more.
Tyson won like in the first round within 2 minutes. So, but the thing about the Tyson fights is they drew gang members from all over the country, and Tupac was in town with his entourage, and he was with Suge Knight, the CEO of Death Row Records, where Tupac had a contract, and they were, after the fight, they headed down to a club on East Flamingo.
And the fight was at MGM.
The MGM Grand Arena, yeah. And there was an altercation between Tupac and a rival gang, and they had a big fight in front of an elevator bank, and security showed up and broke them up, and that was it. And they were motherfucking each other, and it was kind of ugly, but it was stopped right there.
How many people would you say?
It's probably 7 or 8.
Okay, total.
Yeah, total.
Okay.
Yeah, including Tupac and the other guys that didn't care for Tupac. So later that night, after they were leaving the club, heading up Flamingo, going back towards the MGM, Suge was driving a new Beamer. Tupac was in the passenger side, and he would, they opened up the sunroof, and Tupac could get out, and he was waving at people and stuff like that. Well, right at Koval, he stopped for a red light at Koval. His bodyguards were in a car behind him. Some girls that they were hanging out with were next to him, and this white Cadillac, newer Cadillac, pulls up on the driver's side, and from the back seat, guy points at the back seat of the driver's side on the Cadillac, which was right next to
on the
Tupac.
right side. Okay.
Yeah, and just starts blasting away. I think he shot like 8 or 9 times into the car. Tupac gets hit in the arm, the leg, in the lungs, and he's just gushing blood all over the car.
And now was the Beamer, that's a sedan, that's a lower car. Oh, I didn't hit play. Hold on, pause. Oopsie. I didn't hit play on our other video. Or record, I mean. There we go. Sorry.
All right.
Okay, go ahead.
So
So the Beamer was a sedan, and then was the Cadillac also a sedan, or was it an SUV?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, there were both four-door sedans.
Okay.
So hand comes out of the back or the left side back seat, bam, 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 and just unloads into the Beamer. Shug isn't hit directly. He's just like gets a grazing wound to his head.
Wow, what a lucky turn of events.
And that was like that was one of the things that everybody was thinking. Wait a minute, how could bullets be flying into the car and Shug not get hit? That was a red flag for the investigators. So anyway, once he gets hit, Shug guns it, does a U-turn, and just starts speeding away. And
down what, Koval or Flamingo?
Down Koval, and then makes his way to Harmon and the Boulevard, where the cops stop him and they see what's going on, and they call for an ambulance, and pandemonium. It's crazy, and Tupac, they both go to the hospital.
So did the cops stop him just because it was a car going crazy?
Yeah,
okay.
They didn't know what had happened at the time. So
okay.
Once they get it pulled over, and they didn't know exactly who it was until they get up there and say, hey, what's going on? Shug says, we've been shot. That's my friend Tupac. He's been hit. He's bleeding really bad, and he was bleeding all over the place. I mean, he wasn't going to survive that wound, obviously. So they load him up in the hospital. They get him out to UMC, and by then the word is out. Tupac Shakur's been shot yet again, and in Vegas. So there's a huge crowd out at UMC. The cops have to go there and keep everybody out of the emergency room, and the cameras are there, and everybody's going crazy because it was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So he had some serious wounds. They ended up doing 2 or 3 surgeries. They put him in a drug-induced coma so that they could try and save him. At first they thought, he's going to be okay. We'll get him out of this mess, and he'll be all right. Well, his condition got worse over the next few days.
Yeah, because he lived for a couple days in the hospital, right?
Almost a week, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So they had taken out his right lung because it was so badly damaged. And they said, this is the only way we're going to be able to save him, take out his lung. And he just took a turn for the worse. And I guess poetic justice, Tupac Shakur dies on Friday the 13th. So they go take his body to the coroner's office, and they did an autopsy the next morning, and that's where we were there. And when you do an autopsy, this is going to get kind of gross. When you do an autopsy on a murder victim,
so excited.
They start off by taking pictures of the victim on the table before they even touch him. Then they wash him up, clean him up, and then they do what's called a Y cut. And they take a scalpel.
Like on the TV shows.
Yeah, cut right here.
I've seen
right
CSI.
Here, right down the middle, and then they start peeling back the skin.
Nice.
And they open up, they peel the skin back, and then they take like rose clippers and start cutting out the ribs.
Like
the
shears?
Rib cage. Yeah, just like shears.
Like they spatchcock him?
What?
It's a cooking term where you cut like the spine out and fillet. No, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so they cut out the breastplate. They take that out and they skin it. I mean, separate the muscles, and so now his chest is completely open, and they describe what's going on there, and then they just start taking his organs out. They start with his lungs, or in this case, lung.
Lung. Singular.
Doctor, looks at it, puts it on a scale, just like you weigh bananas at Smith's.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts taking notes, and then they take out the heart, cut the heart out, same thing, and then all the other major organs.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, they would take rods, metal rods, and trace the paths of the bullets from one end to the other.
Oh, they really do that?
Yeah, they really do that. And so they had him opened up, and it was obvious what the cause of death was, multiple gunshot wounds, and that was it. I mean, Tupac's last moments were not very glorifying because he was there on the table. His chest is cut open. All his organs are over here. They put him in a big plastic bag, stuff him back into him, and sew him up and release him to the mortuary to dispose of his remains.
Now, where is Suge this whole time?
Suge is avoiding the cops.
Had he left Las Vegas?
No, he was still there, but they said, look, we need to talk to you. We need to find out what happened because this is a major event here. You know, I mean, this isn't just your run-of-the-mill murder. So he dodged the cops for the first day. The second day, he said, yeah, okay, I'll talk to the cops with, I think he had 2 attorneys. And of course, like with every other gang-related shooting, I don't know nothing, I didn't see anything, I can't help you. And that was it. You know, even though, you know, he was right there and saw his friend get shot and was almost dead in the car.
Right.
So that was a big issue because they were trying to, other than the altercation that he had with, I think it was Orlando Anderson, the big fight, they couldn't figure out, with all the enemies that Tupac had made, somebody had finally caught up to him, or was this just a random shooting and somebody happened to see, hey, that's Tupac, I'm going to, you know, make my bones and boom, I'm going to take him out and I'm going to be a big deal for a week or so.
Right. Do you know what the fight at the hotel was about?
They were just motherfucking each other.
Okay, just
Yeah, it wasn't anything serious. I mean, it was a matter of, you know, one group disrespected the other group in you know, gang-related cases. That's all it takes. You know, the wrong look and boom, it's on. You know, the fight's on. So there was a lot of questions about who had the motive to kill him, and whoever it was in that white Cadillac. Where did they come from? How did they know that Tupac was there? And they tried to connect the guys that he was involved in the fight with earlier to the Cadillac, but they couldn't do it because it was just zero cooperation from witnesses. I mean, there were 100 people at that intersection, and when the cops got there, they started talking to all these people and realized, well, wait a minute, this is a gang murder. We don't want to have anything to do with that. I didn't see anything, officer. In fact, I was looking the other way till I heard the gunshots, and by then everybody was gone.
Oh, so people were scared.
Yeah, scared and didn't want to get involved, which is the case in 99% of gang-related murders. I mean, I don't remember working a gang murder where anybody ever came forward to give cops information, and you know that's
snitches get stitches.
Yeah, that's the way.
End up in ditches.
Yeah, we some people will be offended by this, but you know, we coined a term that a gang-related murder, when one gang member kills another gang member, we call that the self-cleaning oven.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, you remember that? Yeah. So because I mean, you just don't get any cooperation, and the person who was killed was very likely a killer himself, and the person who killed him was likely to be killed in retaliation. So, you know, the gang guys, they just figure we're going to take care of it our own way, and you know, we'll hand out the death penalty to other people because the cops aren't going to investigate this because it's just another gang murder, which is not the case. You know, I mean, you put as much effort as you can into any murder, but if you're not getting cooperation from anybody,
yeah, what are you gonna do?
If the people are telling you, hey, fuck off, I don't talk to the cops, you know, where do you go? There's not too many places you can go. So right away, the conspiracy theorist came out and, you know, this isn't real. Tupac's still alive, and you know, he's on an island in the Caribbean with Elvis Presley and Jim Morrison and stuff like that. But
obviously that's true.
Yeah. So no, I'm telling you, Tupac is dead. I saw his body. I was there when they cut him up and turned him into a canoe. He's dead. You know. So there's nothing to any of the conspiracy theories. So now they're trying to figure out who did it. So one of the questions was, well, wait a minute. Suge Knight was driving the car, and how could he have not been hit if both people were targeted?
Right.
And that was, you know, that was a red flag.
Oh no! Wait. Oh, there. Okay. Oh. Wait. Due to poor connection. Okay.
Okay,
we're back.
We are back. All right. So that was one of the first things that they thought maybe Suge Knight had something to do with it, because at the time Tupac was rumored to be leaving Death Row Records, and Suge didn't want him to leave, but it, you know, it became quite contentious, that whole situation in that relationship. So that was one of the things that they looked into, and it panned out that that was not the case. But to this day, people are still trying to figure out how could Suge Knight have not been hit by all those bullets going into the car.
Right, because I mean, even if they had tried not to hit him, that still would have been difficult.
Yeah.
Even if it was on purpose.
Because, bullets going into a car, they're going to start bouncing around and deflect, and, there's no telling where they're going. So it was one of those issues where, number one, Suge wasn't talking. He didn't see anything, didn't know anything, and was of no help to the investigators. So then everybody starts talking about, well, it's a white Cadillac. Why couldn't you just stop every white Cadillac around there and figure out who did it? Well, it doesn't quite work that way. And
seems simple enough, detective.
Yeah. So it was to this day it was unsolved. Last year, this guy says, I'm going to have a press conference and I'm going to tell you guys who shot Tupac Shakur.
Who said that?
The driver of the Cadillac. He says, I was the guy driving the Cadillac, and we pulled up next to Tupac's car, and my boy in the back seat took out his gun and just started firing. Well, we know that already. So who is the guy that was in the back seat? Oh, well, I can't tell you that. We'll take care of it ourselves, but I can't tell you the guy's name, but I can tell you where he was. He was in the back of my car. Well, that was just absolutely fucking useless, because it was information that everybody had already known. So I don't know if this guy was doing it for his 15 seconds of fame or what it was, but it was...
But wouldn't that still make him an accessory?
No, because...
Or is he saying he didn't know? They just pulled up.
Yeah, you got to corroborate everything to charge everybody with an accessory. And I mean, you'd have to be able to corroborate independently of what they say. If a witness or somebody comes forward and says, hey, I saw a red pickup truck driving by and the guy got out of the red pickup truck and started shooting and shot the guy that's dead on the sidewalk. Okay, so you've got that information and you have to work with it, and you have to be able to independently corroborate that information.
Okay.
In other words, you have to go find that red truck. You have to find who was driving it and put them at the scene. You can't just take somebody's word that what they're saying is true.
So now, is it true that eyewitness testimony, it's only like a percentage reliable or something?
Oh yeah, man.
Right? It's usually...
You can have 5 eyewitnesses witness the same exact incident, and you'll get 5 different versions of it.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, people aren't trained or accustomed to react to traumatic situations. So when something crazy goes on, your brain can't keep up with what's happening, and you just don't see the same thing that everybody else does. And a lot of times eyewitness testimony isn't as credible, not because of the witness, because it's human nature not to be able to remember things that are happening bam, 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 like that, and in a traumatic situation. I mean, we've had many cases, like we've got 3 or 4 people that were at an intersection during a drive-by shooting, or were walking into the 7-Eleven just as the bad guy was running out and the clerk's dead on the floor, and they give completely different descriptions. So that's where you got to rely on videotapes. You look at the videotape and you match it with somebody else's description that matches, and so you start working that lead. But eyewitness testimony can be very tricky to deal with. It's hard to come up with good, accurate eyewitnesses.
Right.
Because the nature of it. I mean, you think about it. You're driving down the street and all of a sudden something crazy happens. You're not ready. You're not prepared to remember what's going on, what you saw, who was doing what were they wearing, what did they look like.
Right.
We're, as human beings, you're not used to that, so you're not going to be able to give an accurate description. And a lot of people do the best they can. It just doesn't work sometimes.
So what kind of gun was it?
If I remember right, I think it was a 9mm, but the gun was never recovered.
Okay.
They got the bullets, and they're in evidence. And, we got to remember this is still an open case because it's never been solved.
Just never been solved.
Yeah, so there's a lot of ballistic evidence. There's forensic evidence. But my sense is that it'll never be solved just because of the nature of the crime. The information that we had been getting, or the department was getting, was that the guy who actually pulled the trigger he himself was killed a year later. So the actual person that was responsible for the shooting can't be prosecuted because he's dead. So it'll be one of those cold cases that unless somebody comes forward with information like this knucklehead did last year.
Last year, like 2018 last year?
Yeah. Last year, 2018, last year. This case had so many crazy aspects to it. I mean, there was information that there was a group of LAPD officers who were contributing to concealing the identity of who the shooter was because they were friends. You know, LAPD is a great department. They have really good detectives and officers, but they're so big. Some of those officers, you know, they fall to the dark side and get involved with bad elements, and they often get terminated and prosecuted a lot of times. So up until last year, there was still a lot of friction between our department and LAPD because LAPD was thinking that our department had dropped the ball and they weren't doing a good job and they should have had it solved because LAPD had given this information, and it was information that really wasn't that valuable, but LAPD thought it was. So there was a lot of friction between LAPD and Metro Homicide because of the Tupac Shakur case.
So why do you say up until last year?
Because it culminated with this guy coming forward. The guy,
okay.
The
and did
driver
he
of
come
the car.
forward here, or did he come forward in LA?
LA.
He
was
did?
in LA, yeah. He made this press conference in LA. And, you know, like I said, the information he gave was old and stale and nothing new, so there was
like
nothing
anything
to
you could have
follow up
found on the internet or
Yeah, exactly.
or in a newspaper in '96.
Yeah, but the reason it got so much interest was because he said, I'm going to identify the man who killed Tupac Shakur. That's flat what he came out and said. So when it came down to it, he identified him. Yeah, it was the guy in the back seat of my car behind me. Well, what was his name? I can't tell you that. So,
is someone allowed to not tell you?
Yeah, we can't force people to talk to us. We can't make somebody talk to us unless they're involved in the crime. No, unless they're involved in the crime. If they're an accessory to the crime, then you can use that as leverage. Look, tell us what you know, and we'll give you a break on the charges. You know, give us all the detailed information, and when it comes time for sentencing, we'll tell the judge you were helpful and we wouldn't have been able to solve it if you hadn't have given us this information. But you end up, you know, you end up trying to figure out if these people are trustworthy, if they're honest, or if they're just making shit up because they want to get out of the charges that they're involved in.
Right.
And again, you know, like I said earlier, if somebody tells you, you know, I know who it was, this is where he lives, and this is what he was wearing, I know where the gun is, and go get him, go arrest him. You can't do that. You have to corroborate all the information that you're getting independently of what the person tells you. So you have to be able to prove what this person is telling you to be true, or you won't, or the case will just fall apart.
So how long did the investigation last before you realized that there was just nothing else?
Probably about a year.
Okay.
Yeah, it was going on for a long time, and you know, then you know all the salacious information that was coming over. The actual crime scene photos, we had to put into a safe, a locked, secure safe in the homicide section, because the National Enquirer was offering $100,000 for crime scene photos, and we had the only crime scene photos.
Monsters.
Yeah, and so they were.
Yeah, well, because this was before camera phones.
Right.
So it wasn't like, I mean, how do you even deal with that now with all the camera phones?
Oh, you can't. I mean,
there's nothing you guys can do.
Nothing we can do because people have, and we've seen it. We saw it in the 1 October shooting. People were taking pictures and videos with their phones that were of evidentiary value that the cops needed to see so they could, you know, try and put the puzzle pieces together. They didn't bother going to the cops. They'd sell their videos to whatever media outlet would pay them money for it. And a lot of times that compromises cases because if someone's got evidence that you need to make a case solid and they're selling it to, you know, Dateline or whoever it is, that compromises the integrity of that evidence because if you're ever able to get it into court,
Right.
a good defense attorney is going to tear that apart.
Right.
Because, you have to worry about chain of custody and stuff
And there's
like that.
nothing that says the media can't buy evidence. Why is that not?
It depends on the integrity of the media outlet. So if a legitimate, let's say ABC News gets a copy of, somebody comes in and says, hey, I have a cell phone video of a murder that took place right here, and I want you guys to see it before the cops see it. A lot of media outlets will say, you know what, that's evidence. We'll take it, but you got to take it to the cops first.
To the good ones.
Yeah.
The good ones do that.
Yeah.
The shitty ones throw it all over the news and stuff for attention.
And
Gross.
We know who those outlets are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who?
Well, the ones that like to make their living off of rumors and gossip.
Oh, well, National Enquirer. Are they? I feel like nobody count. Those don't count.
Yeah.
Those I don't think anyone looks at those as even halfway legitimate, media outlets. So, are you allowed to say who you think shot Tupac?
I can give a theory. I think it was
Right.
A direct result of that fight. I think it was the person who he had the altercation with, who was a guy named Anderson. And in my view, I think that's who pulled the trigger. I think that's who was in that white Cadillac, and that's who pulled the trigger.
And that's who you said died a year later?
Yeah, and a lot of times that happens on gang-related murders. The guy who actually committed the murder will himself be killed in retaliation by his victim's gang. They'll track him down and say, no, the cops aren't going to help us, so we'll take care of it ourselves, which is not true. If you give us the information, we'll go get him.
Right, they just don't want to.
Right. Yeah, they don't want to be seen as cooperating with the police, because that's a death sentence, man. If anybody
you'll die.
thinks you're a snitch talking to the cops, they'll kill you.
Right.
Whether it's true or not. So, a lot of people have to weigh that against the information they have. Is it valuable? Do I care enough about the dead guy to give this information to the cops so they can make a case against the shooter? Or do I keep my mouth shut and, let the other gang take care of it?
So, do you think Suge Knight was an accessory?
It's like this, man. It's like this. From what I saw, I don't know how Suge did not get struck by those bullets. So if you carry that out, if you play that out, then
and he's huge.
Massive
big guy.
yeah.
And Tupac was not a big guy.
No, Tupac was kind of a smaller guy. And there was bullets flying into that car. How, by the grace of God, did Suge not get hit unless the shooter purposely was aiming away from where Suge was so that he wouldn't get hit. So that was one of the big red flags.
Well, I guess if you're ready for it, if you know it's coming, you can.
Yeah, but still, man.
I mean,
you're sitting next to me and somebody starts shooting this way. You can only move so far, and those bullets come through pretty.
Well,
pretty
Beamers
damn
aren't
quick.
big.
No. So
He would have been.
and he did get hit. He got a graze.
Yeah, I saw. He
grazing
spent like
bullet
4
wound to his
seconds
head.
in the hospital. He got a Band-Aid and some Neosporin.
Yep.
His friend bled to death.
Yeah, and
next to
so
him.
the only good thing about that is Suge's in prison now for a very, very long time, and
what did he? Because he killed someone, yeah.
yeah.
Well, he finally got caught killing somebody.
Yeah, he got. I think it was a fight, and he beat somebody to death, or I don't remember the specific details, but
Yeah.
the law finally caught up to Suge.
And he didn't have a stellar reputation either. I mean,
no,
it was a matter of time.
He played football out at UNLV. Did you know that?
Oh, I did know that. I forgot about that.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I found that out or finally remembered in Straight Outta Compton, which you still haven't seen.
Nah.
God, it's so good. You gotta watch it.
Yeah.
Then you'll be like, just, even the actor that plays Suge will make you hate Suge Knight. He's a piece of shit.
Yeah, there was, of all the conspiracy theories that came out, it was, all kinds of crap. I mean, there was even people saying the cops set him up, and it was a cop that was in the backseat.
That's what somebody said. Somebody was like,
yeah.
I thought the cops killed him.
Yeah. No, if the cops would have killed him, they would have taken credit for it. But, Tupac was a dyed-in-the-wool cop hater. He hated the police. When you've got somebody with that mindset and with that reputation, you have to investigate the case even more thoroughly so that you don't give his supporters ammunition to say, yeah, see, the cops don't care about another dead black guy.
Right.
They just don't care, so they're not gonna solve it. They don't care, which is not the case. I can tell you, I've worked hundreds of them.
Right.
And we put a lot of effort into that because you don't want, if you can stop a war between two gangs where innocent people are going to get killed, you have to try and get that done. But you can't do it if the people are, motherfucking you at every turn and saying, we're not talking to the cops. I've actually had people sit down and say, hey, I know who did it. I know where he is, but I'm not telling you. Fuck you. We'll take care of it ourselves.
What do you say to that?
All right, man. Thanks for coming in.
That's it? That's it?
Yeah. And you try and put it together, and hopefully you can get to the person that they're going after before they do, because they'll kill them.
Yeah.
All we want to do is arrest them and take them to trial.
Right.
See that justice is served. But they don't care about that. They don't care about that.
So did you already say who killed the guy that you think killed him, Anderson?
No, that case is unsolved too.
And where was that?
In L.A.
It was another shooting?
Yeah, another shooting.
Another
in
gang
LA. Yeah.
related shooting?
Yeah, and it just keeps going. I mean, it's just a vicious circle.
Yeah.
It's just a vicious circle. They just keep killing each other for stupid reasons.
Are we not as loud? Yeah, we don't have our mics this time because I forgot my adapter. So sorry. Turn it up. We got to speak up.
Okay.
And, okay, so any other Tupac details, any other good stuff? Oh, I was going to ask, what about his family? I mean, did his...
Oh, yeah, his family were the biggest screw the police. They don't know what they're doing.
Oh.
Vocal people. I mean, his mother was on the phone every day talking to the lead investigator saying, how in the fuck can you not find a white Cadillac leaving Las Vegas? What is so hard about that? It's just...
Yeah.
It's, okay, so Jerica says, Uncle Phil, would gangs exist without illegal drugs? Sure. Yeah, they do. Because
they'd make money somewhere else.
They'll do all kinds of other things. They'll
Yeah.
do all kinds of other things. Yeah, but drugs, prostitution, major crimes, that's their forte. That's how they make all their money. Mm-hmm. So, they're some of the biggest drug dealers in the country. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, the gangs would still exist, but, as long as there's a demand for drugs, gangs and organized crime are going to supply those drugs. It's there's a lot of money to be made in drug dealing, but
yeah.
It's a huge risk, man. There's not too many 50-plus drug dealers, 50 years old.
Very good point.
Yeah.
Don't think I've seen an old drug dealer or an old gang member.
Right.
I mean, with my extensive knowledge of gang members that I know. So a lot of people are asking this, and I got a lot of this throughout this week, if you would talk about the October 1 shooting.
Yeah.
Would you?
Yeah, that's and that's a lot of public information about that. I do a lot of commentary for the local news stations. When cop-related stuff or big murders come up, I do interviews with the different media outlets. On that night, Channel 3 called me up about 11 o'clock. And my good friend down there at Channel 3, Gerard Romalo, says, hey, have you heard what's going on? I said, no, man, what's going on? He says, there's been a mass shooting at Mandalay Bay. I said, are you kidding me? He goes, no, can you come in? And I said, yeah, right away. So I jumped up, got dressed, went down to Channel 3 and was on the anchor desk from about, 11:30, midnight, through the whole night until about 8 o'clock, came home, got a little bit of sleep, and went back the next day. And just reported on that. It was crazy.
So then maybe we'll do that next week. That's pretty fresh.
Yeah.
I mean, I figured somebody would ask that.
Yeah.
Obviously because it was here, but maybe we'll talk more about that.
There's a lot to talk about on that one.
There's a lot to talk about. That was pretty rough. That's probably the roughest thing Vegas has seen.
Oh, yeah. Well, the roughest thing the country's seen. I mean, it was...
True.
There were more victims of mass shooting that night than any other mass shooting in American history. Mm-hmm. It was unbelievable, man. I mean, I remember being on camera as they're reporting. Okay, there's 10. We're listening to the police scanners.
I was too.
And you could hear, you know, the cops saying, all right, we've got 10 victims over here, another 10 over here, another, and I'm listening to this, just shaking my head. This can't be happening, man. This is just not happening. There's got to be something wrong. Until, you know, the videos started coming in, and when you look at the sea of people that were at this concert, I mean, they were literally just standing room only, thousands of people. I don't know how more weren't killed.
Right.
The severity of the injuries on those 500 plus people that were injured, a lot of them would have died if it hadn't have been for quick thinking first responders and other people that were in the crowd, you
helping,
know, putting their hands over gaping bullet wounds and saving a lot of lives.
I don't know if you knew this. I don't think I told you the because it was right across the street from the Luxor, right? And when I worked for MGM, because that happened in October, I left MGM in June. The girl who took my job covered that night, that event.
Wow.
Yeah. She wasn't there. She had left by that point, but.
All right, so people are asking about my shirt. It's my wife's company, Above and Beyond Restoration and Construction. That's her.
It's repping.
Yeah. So this is my my attempt to get her some free publicity.
Yeah, I noticed that last time
Yeah.
when I was trying to look at your, because I didn't notice when I got here, and then in the video I noticed. I was like, oh yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so somebody's asking about gun regulations.
I'm gonna do that right now.
You know, it's sad that people think that if we stopped issuing guns or letting people have guns, that these crimes are going to stop. They're not going to stop, man.
Right.
There are so many guns out right now. There's more guns in America than there are people. Yeah. So.
And we have the most armed civilian population.
Yeah. So I'm all in favor of background checks, extended background checks, which, you know, that's how a lot of guns get into the hands of people that aren't allowed to have them. But, you know, believe it or not, it's against the law to use and possess heroin, cocaine, but people still do it. So, you know, the people that think if we restrict all guns and nobody's allowed to have guns, criminals don't care about laws anyway.
Yeah, well, and how are you going to get rid of 500 million guns?
Exactly, you can't. There's no way. I mean,
even though I'm not a big gun fan, but.
And, you know, yeah, it's, you know, there's so many arguments on both sides.
Yeah.
But take it from me, you could stop producing guns tomorrow and it's not going to change anything. If someone has gotten to the point where they're so mentally screwed up that they're going to go out and commit crimes, they're going to find a way to get a gun. The people who have guns right now that aren't supposed to have them, they're not going to give them up. They're not going to give them up at all. And the people who are legitimate gun owners, who are gun enthusiasts that, you know, go to the range and target practice and stuff like that, why do they have to surrender their guns? Because criminals are killing other people with stolen guns.
Right. Well, and then there's the conspiracy
it's
that
a tough issue, man. It's
the
just
government,
a tough issue.
the government's trying to get people to surrender their guns.
Never happen.
No.
Never, ever, ever going to happen.
I don't take you for a conspiracy theory person, right? I wouldn't. I love them. I love all conspiracy theories, but I'm pretty gullible. I believe them all.
Okay, so Jericho wants to know, what about automatic weapons? You know, there's an argument there. Why does somebody need an automatic weapon?
Right.
A machine gun. Why do you have to have a machine gun? I had a machine gun. In fact, I've had two. Not because they're readily available. When I was at work, we were issued machine guns.
Really?
Because we were confronted with machine guns. So
Yeah.
cops are given assault weapons, AR-15s. They put them in the trunk because you're dealing with people that are shooting at you with an assault weapon. Your
Fair enough.
40 caliber Beretta is not going to be very effective against a guy that's 100 yards away with a scope and a laser mounted AR-15. You know, he's going to shoot you in the head. You have to fight fire with fire. You have to be able to match the firepower that someone is shooting you with. If you can't defend yourself, if the cops can't defend themselves, we're going to have a lot more dead cops than we already do.
What about the bump stock?
Yeah, that was I had never even heard of them before.
Really?
October. I didn't know that.
I mean,
they
I hadn't
existed.
either, but that's not saying much.
Well, for that very reason, for the very reason that they were used to commit that horrible crime, I think banning them was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Because if you're allowed to have guns, someone can still go out and buy a machine gun if you're allowed to have one. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of, do you need it? No, nobody needs to have a machine gun, but do you need to drive a $2 million Ferrari that goes 200 miles an hour? No, you don't need to, but people want to.
Right.
Yeah, so gun regulations have their place in certain circumstances, but you just can't throw a blanket around the country and say nobody's allowed to have a gun.
Right. That's a knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah, and it's heartbreaking because you see these parents of dead high school kids.
Yeah.
You see the wives of dead police officers. You see all this trauma and tragedy coming from gun crimes, and the amount of guns that we have here in America. I don't see a way to stop it.
That's what I was going to ask.
I just don't see how you're going to stop somebody who has, like I said, they formulated these plans. They're going to go out and start killing people with all the guns they have, or they can get their hands on. How do you stop that? I mean, look at this guy last week, a Coast Guard. A member of the United States Coast Guard was ready to unleash hell on the Capitol, had all kinds of weapons, thousands of rounds of ammunition, and this is a member of the Coast Guard. So if you can't keep tabs on somebody from the Coast Guard, I mean, who would imagine that a member of the military would be planning a attack like that?
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, it was last week.
So do you think that teachers should have guns?
I think they should. But
Really?
I think they should be very, very qualified. And I don't think anybody should know which teachers have guns.
Oh, that's a good argument.
Yeah, Gigi says, where's Tupac buried? He was cremated the next day. And his ashes were given to the family. And nobody really knows what happened to him. There was one rumor going around that a rival gang had gotten a hold of his ashes and mixed them up with weed and smoked them. Yeah. But that's not true. That didn't happen. He was cremated. The family cremated him the day after the autopsy, and what they did with his ashes, nobody really knows.
That's the sickest shit I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah,
my gosh.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
How often do you see gun accidents occurring? Quite a bit. Yeah, quite a bit. I had a case where a 10-year-old kid was playing with his daddy's shotgun, didn't know how to work it, and shot his 3-year-old sister right square in the chest.
Here?
Yeah, it was here. Yeah. If you have a gun, if you're a gun enthusiast, and I don't have to tell the gun enthusiast this, you've got to be a responsible gun owner, man. If you've got little kids in the house, if you have a lot of people in your house, put them away, lock them up, put the guns so that nobody can get a hold of them. Put the guns someplace where only you know that they're at. If you are keeping them for protection, if you're keeping them just because you want them, don't let your kids get a hold of them. And we see that all the time. Kids playing with guns, and they end up either killing themselves or killing a friend of theirs. No, Tupac's car has been released. It was auctioned off, and I think a guy here in town bought it.
Weird.
But yeah,
his car, the car he was in?
Yeah, the Beamer.
That's what you mean by Tupac's car. Okay.
Yeah, the Beamer. It was Suge's car, and it's been sold 2 or 3 times to collectors, and I think the last guy that has it is here in town somewhere.
Somebody asked, "Have you been shot?"
No, I've never been shot. I've been shot at once.
Is that it?
I've never been shot. Yeah.
Have you ever shot anybody?
No.
Really?
No.
Have you ever fired your weapon?
Yes, but never hit anybody. It was when I was in patrol, stopped a bank robbery suspect. Got in behind him and was waiting for backup. And they pulled over and got out and fired one shot. And just as I was getting ready to shoot back, they dove inside the car, and my backup got there, and we took him into custody.
Was it you found him? Was he leaving the scene?
He was like 50 yards from the bank. When they broadcast it, when a bank gets robbed, it gets reported to the cops instantaneously, and most of the time, by the time the bad guys are leaving the bank and getting in their car, the cops are already on the way. And I just happened to be 2 blocks away from this bank that was getting robbed.
Right, just on your regular patrol.
Yeah. And I heard the broadcast. I started heading to the bank, and boom, there goes the car right by me. I said, okay, here we go. This is going to be fun. Yeah. So it was,
Interesting.
Yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, gun laws, as restrictive as they can be, they just don't work, man. I'm sorry, they just don't work.
I forgot to remind you to watch The Staircase this last week.
Oh no.
We'll have to do one of that. Did we tell you what the theory was at the end?
No.
Okay, so the weird theory is that he, obviously he ended up getting convicted. He was guilty. I don't know how else you could have seen it, but a few years later, somebody came through with the theory that she had actually been attacked by an owl. Listen. Again, I believe everything, so, but whatever. So she was, here's the weird thing. So she was walking into her house, and where they lived, I think there, it was in California or somewhere. Or no, it was back east, somewhere where there would have been owls. And she had these gigantic, lacerations on her head, huge ones. And they were saying that, an owl had maybe come down, and she had been drinking. She had painkillers in her system, so her blood would have been thinner. She may have stumbled and probably, tried to get upstairs, and maybe she just thought she was bleeding and then had fallen. And then it came out later that she had, they found microscopic owl feathers in her scalp.
Get out of here.
Swear dude, fucking watch it. Swear to God.
That sounds like some voodoo mojo
Straight
shit
up
to me.
voodoo. And
Wow.
but then when you find out that his first wife had also fallen down the stairs and died,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, then you're all, maybe not.
He better get a better carpenter and fix them stairs.
Yeah, apparently they are slippery.
All right, so somebody just asked what was your scariest moment. Well, there were 2. Before Sam's Town out on Boulder Highway in Flamingo, it was being built.
Okay.
And they were having...
What year was that?
Oh, man, that was 77, 78, something like that.
Okay.
And I was working patrol, and they were having a lot of problems with people coming and stealing the building materials at the job site. So this is on the east side of there, and it was nothing but, there was just dirt roads out there.
Yeah.
And I'm driving around just to make sure nobody's running, and it's pitch dark, and it's like cold and wind, the cold and windy, and
yeah.
So I roll my window down in the patrol car, and I'm driving really slow just to see if I could hear anything. And I'm just kind of just barely idling, and I hear this weird laugh. It was like this, ha, 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 ha,
Nope.
ha, ha. And I look in the mirror, and I look in the back seat, and I'm looking around, and I hit my spotlights, and I'm lighting everything up, and then I hear it again, ha, 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 ha. And I'm thinking,
What
the fuck is going on?
And you're by
here?
yourself?
By myself.
Nope.
And I didn't say anything. I thought, maybe I'm hearing something. And so I stopped the car, opened the door, and I get out, and I'm looking around, and then I hear this voice, I could have had you. And I had no idea where the voice came from. And that was it.
That was it?
That was it.
What?
Yeah, that was it. And I look around, and I'm turning the car, and I've got all the lights on. I got my red lights on, and I've got every spotlight on the car on, and I don't see a thing. Nothing. And
How loud was the voice?
it was like it was right behind me. That's why I looked in the back seat. And whoever it was had to be either on the other side of the patrol car where I couldn't see them, or they were hiding in a bush or in a ditch or something, because I could hear it just as clear as you and I are talking.
Man, that's because it was a demon. It wasn't someone outside the car.
I'm looking around, and I said, got back in my car, turned the lights all the way they were supposed to be, and just slowly drove out. And I thought,
Slowly drove out.
man, what the hell was that?
Someone almost had your ass.
Yeah.
Not okay.
It was like 10:30 at night, nothing around for miles. I remember it just like that to this day, some 40 plus years later.
And were you extra tired? Was there?
Nothing.
No. There was nothing else that could have.
Nothing. I mean, it wasn't.
Demons.
It was like,
Yeah, demons. That's fine.
Okay, so this is a funny one. This is a funny story.
Really, because that was the scariest shit I've ever heard in my life. I'm having nightmares about that tonight.
I've been involved in some celebrity cases.
Yeah, he has.
Yeah.
But hold on, tell it. What's the second scary? So it's one of the scariest things. It's funny.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So there's this. This was like about 6 months after the Phantom that was saying he could have got me. It was at night. Really bad storm, thunder, lightning, rain all over the place.
Patrol again?
Yeah, I was in patrol again, and these people come home in this big mansion out by where Wayne Newton used to live, and they find a door that's open, and so they think, oh my God, someone's in there, and they run out and they call the cops and
to their house.
To their house, yeah.
Okay.
So I get there, me and another guy, and they said that there's somebody inside the house. We came home and the door was open, and we left it, and there's lights on that shouldn't be on. So we're thinking, okay, somebody was burglarized. So we go through this house, and it's a big house. I mean, it's a big 2-story, like Beverly Hillbillies house. Mm-hmm. We're going through and checking all the rooms, and I go upstairs and check all the rooms, do it, clear the whole house except for this one room that was locked, and I couldn't get it open. It was at the end of this long stairway. We get downstairs and tell the people, okay, everything's fine, nobody's in here except for that one room at the top. I describe it, and they go, oh, that's supposed to be open all the time. It's never locked. They got to be inside there. And I'm thinking, oh man, here we go.
You're all
so
fuck.
They gave me a key, and me and my partner, we go in there, and I said, well, what kind of room is this? They said, well, it's our workout room. There's weight equipment in there, and there's barbells, and there's a one of those beams that ballerinas use to stretch, and then all these mirrored walls and the mirrored closet. So we get in there, open the door, and the power's out. The power's
of course
gone
it
out,
is.
right? So I've got my flashlight, and I open the door, and I'm looking around, and there's nothing in this workout room. And then I see like these 7 ceiling to floor mirrored closet doors. And I said, okay, well, that's where the guy's got to be, hiding inside there. So, smart me, I don't go to where the closest door is. I go all the way across the room, and I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to surprise this guy, because if he's in there, he's going to be right here. I slide the door open, and there's the thunder and the lightning, and I reach in, look inside the closet, and I peek my head down there, and there's this figure standing like this at the end, and I go, let me see your hands. And I put, I was this close to shooting. I had my finger on the trigger. I lit it up. I lit it up with my flashlight. It was a ski suit. It was hanging on this closet. And I thought, and I look, and I said,
son of a bitch!
I almost killed a ski suit.
Holy shit, they couldn't have been all, hey, when you open the door.
Right. So I said, okay. And the people, it was hilarious.
Oh.
It was like a movie. Thunder, lightning, the power's out, and the rain, and when the lightning would strike, it would light up the room. And
fuck that, no. Nope, back up.
That would have been an officer-involved ski suit shooting.
That would have sucked.
It was hilarious.
That would have sucked.
Yeah, that
to
would have
explain
sucked,
that.
but it would have been funny.
So nothing happened. There was nobody in the house.
Nobody was in the house.
And the door was magically locked.
Yeah.
Not okay, dude. No, 100% no.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was crazy.
Okay, so we got 6 minutes left. I don't want to do the October 1 shooting next week. We got to give that one a little time.
Yeah.
Let's do something a little more fun. That one's not going to be fun.
That was gonna be tough.
Yeah, it's not going to be. It'll be interesting, but not. It'll be informative.
Yeah.
But not cool stuff like the Zodiac Killer or something.
No, that's gonna be a tough one.
So last time when I was here, afterwards we were talking and you pulled out your notebook of all of your cases.
Yeah.
And I actually think I posted that so that you guys could see it, but it just has, page after page.
You know what we can do, and see what you guys think about this, is some of the death penalty cases that we have.
Oh!
Yeah.
And the Mafia. A lot of people want to know about the mob.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's quite a few.
You
of
got some
those.
good mob ones?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well,
was the mob still here in the 70s? That's a stupid
yeah.
question. Are they
Yeah.
still here now?
Well, let me tell you. Before I went to homicide, I was working undercover in narcotics. From narcotics, I worked undercover in intelligence. Intelligence are the guys that go after organized crime. I had the long hair and looked like somebody that the mob would be interested in. And I actually got close to some mobsters working undercover. So I got a little bit of an insight into that.
Nice.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
What about, somebody asked me at one point if you have been on any cases with a serial killer. Have you caught a serial killer?
Nope.
Really?
Yep.
Out of all of those?
Yep.
You haven't
They're
caught
tough. They're tough.
Wow.
Serial killers are very, very hard to catch until they get to the point where they want to be caught. Then they start leaving you little clues, what to look for.
Little Easter eggs.
Yeah, yeah. So, Jimmy and I had 4 cases that we linked to 2 serial killers here in town. And
Long time ago? Recently?
No, a long time ago. Well, late 90s.
A long time ago.
Early 2000, yeah. So,
Unfortunately.
but they either were never caught or they're still working. That's the thing about serial killers, man. They either get caught after a certain amount of time or they just keep going and keep going and keep going until they either die or, they get caught for something else and they're in prison for something else, but not for the murders.
Do any of them ever just stop?
No.
They usually don't.
Serial killers do not stop until they're stopped. They just don't. It's in the psyche. It's in their brain that they're either going to keep going, and they like to fuck with the cops by giving them little tantalizing bits. One of the key elements in a serial killer case investigation is their trademark. They always kill in a way that you can identify just to them.
Because they don't want other people to have their take their credit.
Yeah, and some of those are very, very subtle, and some of them are real obvious. And
What's an obvious one?
cutting somebody's head off and putting it between their legs, cutting off a thumb, cutting off.
Do they take the thumb?
Yeah. Most serial killers take trophies.
They take
from their
little
victims.
souvenirs.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. That's serial killers, man. That's a 4-beer story. They're a breed unto themselves.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
That's why I love them. They're my favorite.
Yeah, the Zodiac, man. I wish I could have worked that case. I wish I could have worked the Zodiac case.
Really? Why that one?
Because there was so much intrigue in it. I mean, there was.
That was though you weren't even born yet.
Oh yeah, I was born. I was just a kid though. That was in the '60s in San Francisco.
It wasn't the. Oh, I was thinking the '40s.
No.
It wasn't that. Oh, okay. No. In the '60s. Who? Okay, so you said Zodiac. If there was any other case that you wish you could work,
Is that you?
no,
Okay.
that was your wife's one. If you could work any case in history, what would it have been?
The Green River Killer.
That was in Pasadena?
That was
California?
up in Washington State.
No,
Yeah.
Washington State.
Yeah.
Why that one?
Because it was so intriguing. There was so many clues that you had to sort through. That, working serial killer cases can drive you crazy, man.
Dude, it's gotta fuck with your sleep too.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of times I woke up in the middle of the night and said, shit, I forgot to do that.
Oh, forget that.
Yeah.
Did you even sleep for like 30 years?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, yeah, but it was, yeah, I mean, when you're going and going from case to case to case, some of them keep you up at night.
Yeah, they
and,
have
and
to.
some of them still stick with you, man. There's cases that I worked 20 years ago that it's like it was last week.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we got 10 seconds. Hope you guys liked Tupac and some other stuff. We'll do a fun serial killer one next time. But,
Pause to the pork.
later. It was over anyways.